Here in Oak Ridge, most people um, come to see Union and Confederate lines, but this ridge carries thousands of years of human story. Built before July 1863, before Samuel Geddes opened his tavern, this was indigenous, native land. Susquehannock, Seneca, Lenni, Lenape, they lived, trained, farmed, and made peace here. It wasn't empty and it wasn't seated. In 1763, settlers massacred the last 20 Conestoga people nearby. That's part of this ground's history, too. Gettysburg wasn't the first blood here. It was just another chapter. By the 1800s, Oak Ridge became farmland. Average Pennsylvania farm. The Forney family's apple orchard, fields, and this wall. Um, Built to clear breastworks, keep livestock in. On July 1st, it became a breastwork, and the 11th Pennsylvania used it to tear apart Iverson's brigade. Ordinary farm work became the difference between life and death. That's how thin the line is between peace and war. The 11th Pennsylvania weren't green recruits. They'd only been through the Second Bull Run, Antietam, Fredericksburg, Chancellorsville. They'd lost hundreds. They called themselves the Bloody 11th for a reason. And in the middle of that, a brindle pup, Sallie and Jarrett, marched with them. She learned bugle calls, walked in parades, and even called Lincoln's Eye. For a man living in chaos, she was loyalty they could trust. On July 1st, they used this ridge to devastate North Carolinians who didn't even know they were walking into a trap. Tactical brilliance, horrific slaughter, hundreds dead in minutes. That's the moral chill of this ground. Victory and tragedy woven together. During the retreat, Sallie got left behind. Days later, they found her here, still guarding the bodies of her dead comrades. She stayed with them through the Overland campaign, took a bullet to the neck, survived, and kept marching. In 1865, she was killed at Hatcher's Run, and under heavy fire, the men laid down their rifles and buried her on the spot. That's how much she meant, and that's why in 1889, the veterans voted unanimously to put her in bronze at their monument. Out of more than 1,300 monuments here, only 2 show dogs, and this is the only real one. They knew their story was incomplete without her. Guess the train's going by. A little off script, but rails were a big part of Gettysburg too. Of the whole town. I mean, look, think about it. The railroad cut. That was part of it. The story too. Um, but this train, wait, is that? Yeah, I think that's the. No, not mine. I thought that was the tourism train, but nope. Just a transport train. A big part. Or not when we get to the um, General Lee's headquarters. I'll go deeper into how whales were a big part of Gettysburg, but perfect timing. The numbers carved here are brutal. Over the war, nearly 17% of the 2,096 men who served in this regiment were killed. Um, Wounded, captured, or dying of diseases. Bloody 11th isn't just a nickname, it's arithmetic. But here's the challenge. This place isn't only the 11th Pennsylvania. It isn't only Union versus Confederate. Its native homelands turned to farms. Farms turned into battlefields. Um, Battlefields turned into national parks. Every step of that came with loss. Native peoples erased, civilians like the Forneys ruined, soldiers buried in pits, even martyred in fights over airports and motels on sacred ground. If we only preserve the parts of history that feel heroic, we're lying to ourselves. So here's my ask. Um, if you visit, remember all of it. Remember the native nations forced out, the Conestoga massacre. Remember the Forney family's wrecked farm. Remember the North Carolinians cut down at Iverson's pits. Remember the Pennsylvanians who stood here with their little brindled dog. If we don't hold the whole story, we risk turning the ground into a shrine of comfort instead of a keeper of truth. And to be honest, I don't really blame people for wanting comfort, because comfort is nice, but again, if we focus on comfort, we lose pretty much everything we were, because we don't care about history, the truth, and the whole truth, and that's just how it is. So, what would you choose? Comfort and lose everything, or what would you choose? Welcome to Double Day Inn, one of the most unusual bed and breakfasts in America, because it doesn't just sit near history, it is built right on top of it. This house stands on the ground that has been lived on, worked, fought over, and memorialized for thousands of years. And the stories here, they stretch way beyond the Civil War. Long before a house was built here in 1939, this ridge was native homeland. The Susquehannock, the Seneca, the Lenni Lenape, they all walked this land. They hunted, planted, trained, made treaties, raised families, and it was not wilderness. It was never seeded. Um, but colonization changed everything. Disease, violence, settlement, and in 1763, a nearby massacre of the last 20 Conestoga marked this place with blood decades before Union and Confederate soldiers ever met here. By the 1700s and 1800s, this ridge was just ordinary Pennsylvania farm country, fields, an apple orchard, and this little stone wall. Nothing special, just a way to clear rocks from the soil and um, keep livestock in. But on July 1st, 1863, that wall became a ready-made fortification. Abner Doubleday's I Corps, First Corps, stretched along this ridge, and Baxter's brigade, including the 11th Pennsylvania, lined up behind it. When Edward O'Neill's brigade came forward, they were shredded. Then Iverson's North Carolinians marched blind into point-blank volleys right here. So many dropped in their ranks that the ground earned the name Iverson's Pits. It was one of the bloodiest scenes of the first day at Gettysburg. Um, the Union held here for hours, but had to retreat to Gettysburg by afternoon. Um, a localized victory inside a larger defeat, and as the smoke cleared, the land had to carry the memory. The Forney farm was wrecked, orchards ruined, fields trampled, graves dug shallow in the ridges. Preservation began almost immediately. David McConaughey started buying parcels just weeks before the Gettysburg Military Memorial Association mapped out avenues, including this one, Doubleday Avenue, named to defend the honor of a General Meade had relieved on July 2nd. By 1895, the War Department took control, and by 1933, the National Park Service. Over the years, intrusions came: an airport, motels, even an observation tower was that had been shortened for safety became um, um, for safety. Today, the land is carefully managed by always fragile. Roadwork, um, weather, and vandalism. These things threaten what was meant to be a sacred ground. The house itself went up in 1939 um, for Reverend Abram Agnes Longnecker. Later it became apartments, and then in 1987 a bed and breakfast. And ever since, the Doubleday Inn has carried um, the strange weight of being a home built in the middle of a battlefield. Guests tell stories, apparitions of soldiers with piercing blue eyes gazing out the windows, um, which I don't see any of that right now. Huh. Hi, Black Cat. I was just talking about you. I guess the protector of the paranormal decided to come out. Um, Protector of the ghosts and graves. Deputy seems friendly. A nice cat. More on her or him later. Operations of soldiers with piercing blue eyes gazing out of the windows. Phantom marching boots. Footsteps in empty halls. Hard knocks on doors. The smell of gunpowder that just appears. Lights and orbs, even a friendly attic presence. People call the room. And then there's this black cat that came to visit me. And is pretty friendly. A, a gleaming, glossy cat. That wanders on the grounds. On paper, just a cat. But people notice it's appearing before cold spots, perching on sills before phantom knocks, or staring toward Iverson's pits at dusk. Folklore calls black cats liminal creatures, guardians of thresholds. Here it feels like the cat is walking a line between stories, native footsteps, and farm labor, volley fire, and preservation. And this inn's porch lights, a living reminder that the past is not finished with this place. And you know the thing is, I'm not feeling any cold spots with this cat. Well, I mean, it does feel slightly cooler, but not, I wouldn't say in a paranormal way. That, like, people say if there's a cold spot with a paranormal, there's not, it's very cold. Is there anyone here with me right now? I just had an encounter with a black cat. Don't know if that's the protector of you guys. But if you are here, and you are a soldier, for whichever sign you are, thank you for your service, and fighting for what you believe in, even if it wasn't morally correct. Again, thank you for fighting for what you believe in, and giving your life. I'm sorry you had to die, whatever death you had here. And if you're native, I'm sorry that my ancestors massacred you and took your land. That was not right, and should have never happened. Because how would we feel if if you guys or someone else took our land? We would not like it at all. So, I'm sorry that happened to you. And if I was there, I would have fought to stop it. But anyways, I just wanted to, since I saw that black cat and it came over to me, just wanted to check. So, what is the Day Inn really? It's a convergence, a native homeland turned colonial farm. A farm turned battlefield, a battlefield turned shrine, and a shrine turned overnight stay. The paranormal reports, soldiers in the windows, phantom footsteps, powder and smoke, the watchful attic presence, and yes, the black cat, aren't interruptions. They're proof that the past here refuses to collapse into one neat chapter. This ridge tells us memory is layered. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it howls, and sometimes it walks right past you on padded black paws, like it did today. If you visit, don't just look for ghosts. Remember the Conestoga who were erased. Remember the farmers whose walls became fortifications. Remember the soldiers, North and South, Union and Confederate, who fell in rows, and remember the people who fought to preserve this land, and more than just a storybook. This isn't just a bed and breakfast. It's a reminder that history lives in the ground, and sometimes if you pay attention, it looks you right in the eye, and even comes to rub itself against you in a friendly black cat manner.